Hello, everyone. I'm Annie Gibbins, and you're listening to Memoirs of Successful Women, the podcast where you get to hear candid conversations with fascinating women from around the globe who share aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure their success, and what they have learnt along the way. Well, hello, everybody. I am so excited today to welcome Lili Gordon to Memoirs of Successful Women podcast. And she is just a really fascinating woman that she's come from a marketing background in Bulgaria. And then when she moved to the States, she then got into breath work and how to help women particularly remove their anchors and anxieties and all of these things that just sort of inhibit us from being our best self. So I'm super excited about exploring the work that Lili does and for you to get to know her. So welcome to the program, Lili.
Thank you so much, Annie. It's such an honor, and I'm so delighted to share this energy with you and have a conversation. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. So tell the listeners, what do you do? What does it mean to be working in breath work? What is that?
Uh, Breathwork, this is a topic that I can spend the next year talking about. And it feels like breathwork. How far do you want me to go?
Oh, well, I'm assuming most people listening, they hear a lot of life coaches, professional development, but they've certainly never had a guest come on and go, I'm into breath work and I could talk for a year on it. So, yeah, what does it mean? Just a summary of what does it mean and why would someone come to you for help
Okay,
with their
okay.
breath work?
Okay, so I was wondering if you wanted the story. Okay, for breathwork is something, the breath itself is something that we all have it. It's a tool that flows freely through us. It's the one thing that, yes, it happens spontaneously, and yet we also can control. So for all of the control freaks out there, know that you can control your breath, and you can control it in such way that it can help you with stress, anxiety, things such as overthinking, things as limiting beliefs, things that stop us, self-doubt. And it's wild that we have that tool all in us and we forget to use them. Because think about the breath. Very often when we are so deep in our thoughts, what do? We hold our breath.
Mm.
When we are stressed out or when we are nervous about something, our breath is so much more shallow. When we are relaxed and when we really are feeling it, then our breath becomes deep and we are able to fill all chambers of our lungs. And it's fascinating what it can do for you only if you're open to experience it and trust yourself, because with the breath you really fall back, you become your safety net.
Mm.
You you learn how to tune in so you can navigate the daily challenges. Breathwork is intentional way of breathing that, in my opinion, it found me. I did not find it.
Mm.
It found me and really transformed my life.
Mm. Wow. So I want you then just to lead straight into how did it find you? How did it transform your life? What did it do for you personally?
For me, so I am from Bulgaria, and when I moved here to America, I went into a roller coaster or whirlpool of bad decisions. And one day I woke up pregnant and realized that I I just had my near death experience. I wasn't living. I was alive, yet dead in my skin. I had no idea where I was going and what was I doing with my life. And with that, I started bringing more awareness in my life. And I started because my what I studied back at home was marketing, and my idea, the outside, what I was telling everybody was to move to America, do more of my education here that had to do with business and marketing and all that. But in reality, deep within, the whole idea of me moving here was just to escape from myself. And all the bad decisions that I've made there, not realizing that I need to face all that and deal with it here. The location doesn't matter. You just carry the baggage with you. And eventually you have to open it. You have to unpack. You have to unpack and deal with all that.
Mm.
And once I realized that, I started pursuing career in health and wellness, and from different certifications and education and classes and workshops and trainings and so on and so forth. I felt unfulfilled. It just felt like I was doing so much, and I was sitting on another yet certification that gave me so much, but it didn't feel right.
Mm.
So it all started with massage and health coaching and yoga and Ayurveda and Reiki and Yin yoga. And oh my goodness, the last person, please shut the door.
Oh, I looked at that when I looked at your bio. I went, well, you've certainly explored every course and then
Yes,
become an expert. So was that part of your journey? Were you
it
having
was.
to explore all of those options to go, well, one, I'm competent in them now, but also it was part of your journey to find out, what your purpose was, where you would land to be able to,
Mhm.
have a job, a career, a business, and then help others. Is that?
Yes, and I do have my business of massage where I incorporate everything that I do, but
Mm,
still it felt incomplete
mm,
until from yoga I opened another door, a little tiny door that took me to meditation, deeper into meditation, into breathwork and into Ayurveda. And with breath work, I noticed that it gives me more than what meditation does. It helps me really disconnect from the outside so I can connect with myself. And
mm,
to me, this was huge because once I started getting those breakthroughs, those aha moments, it was like I felt unstoppable. It really, I was holding the layers of so much self-doubt, so much judgment and resentment towards myself that I didn't even realize. And I feel I didn't, or breathwork. I say breathwork found me because nothing comes just like that in your life. It's when you turn back and look at the past, everything makes sense. Even when it didn't make sense at the moment when it was happening, once you look back and see all the mistakes that you've ever made, all the silly little things, all the choices that you made, they do make sense and they lead you exactly where you are today.
mm.
So if you're not happy where you are today, turn back, turn around and see how did you mark your path until this moment and choose better for the future, right? And this is how breathwork makes me feel. I felt home when I started practicing and became breathwork facilitator. I really felt at home in my body. I felt such a deep love for myself. And there are so many people on this planet that walk with so much self loathing. Is it that the word, like self
Mm,
hatred,
mm.
self judgment? And again, I know I keep repeating that self doubt. And you cannot achieve anything in life if you hate yourself. You cannot hate yourself to success. You cannot hate yourself to health, to abundance, to that joyful living. And joy, when you take a deep breath, you can really feel it. You can feel the joy in your body with every single cell. And it's not like, yay, I'm so positive, I'm so happy, sha la 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 la. No, it's not like that. It's a state of mind that you can cultivate even in the moments when you feel absolutely down.
Fascinating. So, what do you think, or what can you communicate happens when you actually take time out? Because I know a lot of people find, that would be lovely, but I don't have time to sit there and have quality time, learn to love myself, breathe slowly, just take time out. Whereas everybody who gets into that space says, it's the best time. That's where those aha moments, that's where that self-value comes from. So how can you communicate to the listeners then what happens to you when you take that time out and in the breathing and in your mind? How would you explain that?
My question first is, do you watch Netflix? Do you scroll through social media? Do
Mm-hmm.
you waste your time mindlessly doing something that it's not important to you? If
Mm.
the answer is yes, then you certainly have time for breath work and certainly have time to do something to nurture yourself. And breath work, yes, the sessions that I do can vary between an hour to 2 hours. And most people do about an hour and a half because it does involve coaching. And then the breath work itself is guided,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows you to go to deeper states of this consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
subconscious layer. However, you don't have to start with something crazy and long. You
Mm.
can just sit with yourself, set alarm for 5 minutes, and breathe there.
Mm.
Breathe there and feel how the breath goes in through your nose, how your lungs expand. And this is almost like a mindfulness meditation,
Yeah.
and scratch the almost, it is. And
Mm.
yes, the breath work that I do is different. It's very close to hyperventilating,
Mm.
and yet it opens this in your brain where you can see
Mm.
way beyond.
Well, I've certainly embraced that mindfulness moments, taken that very seriously over the last couple of years, actually taking those times to pause and just to sit and to be grateful. I've certainly added a lot of gratitude to my mindset and time to actually just be still, because I'm a very busy person. So people still see you. It's what they see. They go, you never stop. But we have those intentional moments that we can put into. So from those who are like me, who now, take those times out, you were saying they get into a state of hyperventilation, or it can go for an hour and a half. And I can't even
Mhm.
imagine that. So in that time, what's the sort of what's the feedback that people give you? What happens to them in that hour and a half? You were talking about that they get a lot of deeper clarity and unpack things. What happens? What's some of the examples that you could share?
So, the average session of the intentional breath work is about the 50 minutes. It's not the full hour and a half. This I'm talking between sharing, setting intention for the session, and in the end, a little bit of integrating and setting a little bit of a goal of how to digest all this information.
Mm.
And in this hour that you do the intentional breathing, you you know how we walk and we're very much in our heads.
Mm.
Whatever we do throughout our day, it's very much we create our problems. They may not even exist, but
Exactly.
oh, I'm a creator, I'm going to make me a problem. Or if actually there is already a problem, we start developing more, like we have those conversations with people that may not even ever happen, or they won't unfold the way we imagined it. But through
100%. 100%. We're our own worst enemy, aren't we? I mean, I'd say it's
oh,
got to be up there in the 90s percentile of, the what ifs, the time consuming thoughts about potential situations. And you kind of go, wow, that's where I've just changed so much. Just use it on the actual reality, move
mhm.
forward. Or if you're planned and working with purpose and intentional, you do free up all this time and energy, don't you? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And what happens is exactly that. You disconnect from what's going on here and you drop in your body. And
Mm.
have you ever heard the book, The Body Keeps the Trauma? Or
No.
no, The Body Keeps the Score. I'm sorry. It's
Oh, the
it's
body
for
keeps the
trauma.
score.
The
Yes.
body keeps the score, not the trauma. I mean, the body keeps the trauma too, but the body
Yeah.
keeps the score. And or there is this saying, we hold our issues in our tissues.
Oh, that's a good saying. Yes, exactly. Because you think you're covering it up, but that's right.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually visually see in some people what they're carrying,
Mm-hmm.
but others
Mm-hmm.
disguise it, but it's still impacting them in a very broad way, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes, and not sometimes, through breath work, when you are able to drop so deep within your body, there is this possibility for you to even have the vision where this came from
Mm.
and what is the emotion behind it. And then when you attach emotion to a certain pain, it becomes more tangible
Mm,
to deal with that and to be able to pass through it. And yes, I'm not there to I want to make a disclaimer. I'm not treating, diagnosing, or any of those stuff. I'm just a facilitator, and
mm,
you do the healing. The person who breathes does the healing.
mm,
And this is what I find the most beautiful. And you asked me earlier what usually people respond to after a
mm.
session. It's
Yeah.
exactly that. I never felt such a deep love for myself. It
Mm,
really, I repeat that again, but this is one of the things that I hear the most is I felt home.
mm.
I felt like I reconnected. I felt like I found that missing piece of me that was looking for so much external validation or answer when I was holding the answer inside of me, and I needed the validation and the proof from within.
Yeah, I think I think that is golden because that's right. So many people are looking for something else, someone else, a situation, a result to be who they are.
Mhm.
And so you're always chasing. You're always anxious. Have I missed it? Was I late? Have I seen that opportunity? Is it me? What's wrong with me? All of that sort of approach. Whereas that's right. You're already there. It's actually taking time out to go, okay, well, that's right. Who have I been designed to, who am I designed to be? And how am I being my best self? And then you will find those opportunities, right?
Mhm.
You mentioned before that a lot of people, or you've noted, there's a lot of, you called it self-loathing, self-hatred, lack of self-belief, all sorts of these really negative anchors and places for people to be. Why do you think that's such a problem? Why? How can we address that and move on into a more empowered future generation?
We need to start with ourselves. This is ancient saying, but we need to become with us. We cannot change other people if we cannot change ourselves.
Mm,
And it's something, like you said, it's programs. It's something that we've learned with time. It's something that we believed. Somebody told us in high school, oh, you look at you, you're so ugly. You're not going to be able to go into filling the blank. I can't even think of an example, but you know what I'm saying.
yeah.
You go to school and you hear the most ridiculous things and you take it for face value.
Oh, of
Whatever
course.
Susie told you in fifth grade, you think that's the truth, or whatever Johnny told you in eighth grade, you take that for to be a part of your life and to keep you chained for the rest of your life. No, no. And everything, when we're growing up, everything is so shallow in a way. We're still trying to figure out who we are and
Mm,
whatnot. And then if we don't have that stability at home, this example in our family that will teach us how to love ourselves, it's really easy to get distracted and start mirroring that.
yeah. Yeah. And that's right. As children, they have a very fixed mindset and so one example, their friend Jenny said this or Jack said that or whatever. They take that as a total truth, and then they'll get a bit of confirmation bias. And that's right. It can still 30 years later be a belief that they're holding or have when there's no evidence that supports that whatsoever. And so more and more of I'm looking even at we've got to start empowering, particularly these young girls earlier, because I'm even watching it. I've got a young little granddaughter now, and she's only 2. She's nearly 3. She's 3 next week. And that's amazing how young it starts of, like, I'm a big girl. It's kind of like you don't want to be where you're at. You want to be bigger. It's going to be
Mhm.
better when I'm 3. And then when you're 3, it's better when you're 4 or you're 5 or whatever. And then you'll see them in primary school. It's kind of like you're enjoying it, but you'll be better when you're in high school. And then, it's kind of like it's never enough. And then I still see people on their career journeys who it's like, oh,
Mhm.
well, it'll be better when, or I'll be happier when, and it's that choice to actually go stop the when, start the now, and actually go, so who are you, and what does your, a growth mindset say? What does it say when you're not limited by all of these things that have been put on you, right or wrong, many of them wrong, and have been limited by someone else's perspective, so the value in actually, even extending, where I've been on those mindfulness moments and more gratitude, to even be extending it out to actually go have some time just to really start, reflecting on, how do you breathe? How do you even having that time to pause when you're in a moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those moments of, that's right. Am I someone that something gets a little bit challenging, and do I stop breathing or do I overbreathe? Because we respond in different ways physiologically, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and I think many times other people will notice it in someone, and that's when they'll generally go, just calm down. And they're like, I don't need to be calm. You kind of go, well, it's like they're obviously not aware of what's
Mm-hmm.
happening with their breath, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, absolutely. And there are so many breath patterns that with a little bit of consciousness, you can train yourself to to control that emotion
mm,
or whatever emotions comes up, being nervous or stressed out, or you just need a moment to for peace. But like you said, it's really important to be aware, and it's really important to learn to live for the now. And like we were talking earlier, like that constant pursuit for the next best thing, like I did with my education, or so many people do with jobs, with husbands.
yeah, right.
Yes, with
Always
it's
searching, always searching for what
always searching.
external situation is going to make me feel better. And then how is that
Mhm.
going to work? And how is that going to be sustainable? And
Yeah,
that's what
and
you
we
want.
forget to be grateful. We forget to be grateful for what we have right now, because in reality, even if you're able to listen to this podcast, for us, the opportunity to be able to see each other, and we're in the opposite ends of the world. This
Yeah.
is a blessing, and this is something to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And those are the little things that make up the big things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly right. An example would be, that's right. I interview a lot of people in the States at the moment and all around the world. And I'm just so thankful, because that's right. If I relied on those things, those messages that were given to me that's right, in those childhood years, it was, you do better if you stop talking. You need to not always try and be a leader. Sometimes you're getting overly involved in certain, bit overly passionate, and it's like, calm down, don't, whatever. And you kind of go, well, now that's right. If I actually, as I discovered my true self, then my skill sets, I'm like going, now I'm so grateful for those qualities, which were never a negative, that they actually allow me to meet people from around the world, coach people online from around the world, hear different stories, get involved in things that I'm passionate about. It's all really good things, so, and everybody I meet has their own little, something amazing that's right, can be so unique and so specific, even what you've found for yourself, that you go, yeah, it took me a while. And even though it's frustrating sometimes that it seems to take too long, that, as you said before, all of those stepping stones and all of those courses, you are still heading in the right direction.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's those many, many, many stepping stones that are all good. They're just not your final destination. And then you park yourself. And even this, you never know, is it for a time? Is it going to
Exactly.
morph
No, I
into
don't know.
something else? It's like, well,
You never know. I think even 2020 is like one of the biggest example that you just don't know. Expect nothing, just live with intention. Live it with intention to show up for yourself, to be as authentic as you can be, honest, and be there to help yourself, and with that to help others. And this will create a ripple effect, the
yeah,
butterfly effect, hopefully to influence so many more. Because really, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was asking me, what's the point? What's the point of being good? What's the point of doing good? What's the whole point of educating people for better when look at it, there is so much crime, there is constant war, and we live in these happy bubbles. And I'm thinking, in what way can we change and improve the world if we pop the bubble and we contribute to the negativity? In no way. So why not? Yes, it's challenging. It's easy to choose bad. I've been there. I know how it feels. It's easy. But
Mm,
it's not easy to choose something that's better for you.
mm.
And that the hard battle, this hard battle actually is worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it because once you get a grip on it, once you understand it for yourself, once you really feel it, then you will see that it wasn't that hard.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't that hard. It just took a little bit of awareness, a little bit of intention, and constant and consistency.
Mm.
Consistency. Because you said something earlier, and I just got a brain fart. But it had to do a lot with the consistency part,
Mm. Mm.
hmm which
Intentional
will come
action.
to me.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's okay. And I agree. I watch people, and I've done it myself. It's like the biggest leap is the hardest one. Like I imagine even, when you're out and you want to jump off a rock or something, is that, when you're waiting, when you're stressing, when you're doing all of this, and then you finally do it and you'll end up in some water or stream or something. And then you're like, woohoo, I did it. And then you're like, oh, now because I'm down here, I get all this fun and opportunity and what's next, and your confidence builds. I often find, and that's an example, but in many times in life, that's right. I've found that first leap, and that requires trust and
Mm-hmm.
self-belief, and that you've got an environment that will be safe and protective, and all those sorts of factors as well. But for people who think, that first bit, that they think it's all going to be as hard, it usually isn't. It's usually that first leap that you go, just do it in a supportive environment, and we're here for you, and we believe in you even if you don't believe in yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting that once you've actually done that, um, yeah, often it's like, whoo, now I'm here. It does
Yes.
get easier, or you feel that the stepping stones towards where you want to go get easier, or well, certainly the clarity is there. You suddenly see
Mm-hmm.
from a different perspective, right? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Clarity is huge for me. And this is what you were saying, that although, it's so good that I found what worked for me, which is the breath work, although it took so long. And the only reason that it took so long is exactly that, because I was feeding my fears. And I was feeding that, like bouncing at the same place. Oh, should I do it? Should I not? What would they say? How would they feel? What would they think? What if? What if they judge me? What if
Yeah.
I fail? What if? Like, does it really matter? Enough is enough.
Yeah.
And if I had that mentality then, I would get to that point much faster.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what could it be, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but this is what I like to think, that sometimes we just marinate on things too long
Yeah.
instead of, like you said, take the leap, trust. When you take one step, the universe will take two steps for you, or God, or whatever you believe in.
Yeah.
You do one step, there is a higher, something higher that will take two for you.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And definitely if you're in the right tribe, the right environment, that you're surrounding yourself. I find a lot is in the environment,
Mm-hmm.
that you're wanting the environment to equip you and support you as well. You can certainly do things by yourself, but it is a harder journey. By being supported by, mentors, coaches, other like-minded people, it's certainly helpful. And even if you take those jumps and you fail, the whole concept of, I remember that. I remember when I went for my first CEO job, and I had people going, I can't believe you applied for it, why do you even waste your time? And I kind of went, oh, and then I got it. And then I went, oh my gosh, what if they were right and I don't know how to do certain things? And then I went, well, I'll learn them. And it was all great, and I've been a CEO for a long time now. And so, but you're always learning, and if you change that view of failure into opportunity, well, I'll certainly learn from it. It is easy the worst, or even if you do have a sense of, well, that course that you did was learning, but it wasn't your place, that's not a failure. That's a stepping stone. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
well, where does that, you've certainly done, massage and Reiki and other things, and they've all been part of your journey. um,
Mhm.
and so nothing is a failure in my mind. It's all about, because you did it. Why did you leap out? Why did you need to do that big, jump off the the cliffy type feeling moment? Because you actually weren't happy where you were. If you were, you wouldn't have been positioned yourself, you wouldn't have been looking, you wouldn't have been striving for something. So it's not as if, oh, well, I should have stayed where I was. Well, no, because you've outgrown that space.
Mhm.
That's sort of been and gone now. You've now moved into a different space. So,
Mhm. You jump and the wings will grow.
yeah, so true. So true.
Yes.
Yeah, just back yourself, ladies. Just give it a go. So,
Mhm.
how do people find someone in your sort of line of work, Lily? I know you've got the Lily Pod as a business, and so how do people wouldn't automatically Google, I need breath work. What do they, how do they find you? Do they find it through yoga? Do they find it through massage? Do they find it through, how does someone know I need to find someone who's uniquely specialized in this area of work?
This is really good question that I haven't put thought in it. Um, but I found until right now is mostly word of mouth. I don't think people who are not aware of breath work rarely think about Googling breath work or searching for, oh, how can breath work help me? Yes, it's mostly through yoga, meditation, retreats. If someone happened to go to a retreat or something like that, usually dragged by a friend to a workshop, or out of curiosity, again, the yoga studio does a breathwork workshop, and ta-da, you find it there, and you see a little piece of yourself transformed.
Mm.
Hmm.
What have been your biggest challenges on this journey to finding your niche area?
Can you repeat? I'm sorry, I didn't hear. It
Sorry,
interrupted.
what have you been your biggest challenges for you?
Oh, my biggest challenge. My
Yes.
biggest challenge is really, and I don't force it much, but trying to convince someone that breath work is not the way, but it's a way. And you will never know until you try, and you already are uniformed with it. I
Mm,
think I've been saying that throughout this whole entire time that we've spent together. You already have it. Why not use it?
mm.
I
Yeah.
think that's the thing, opening people's mind. And I think that, and at least since I got into it, I notice more and more people are opening their mind, because people are sick of the same old. People are searching new solution and alternative ways into healing themselves and feeling better in their skin, in their living their life.
Do you
Yes.
notice there's a massive shift there? Because I certainly do. If I look back a generation ago, people kind of saw it as a luxury to take time out to invest in themselves or find, to go introspective. It was all about the work, the job, the
Mm-hmm.
achievement, the good
Mm-hmm.
parents ting, the look. And I've certainly noticed a massive shift of people seeing the value in taking that time out to explore themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's because of what we were talking before of, people have got, now we've suddenly got this generation of, yeah, they've got so many issues, so many things in their head that are holding them back, and they do just
Mm-hmm.
need to slow it down, take a
Slow
break.
it down. Absolutely. We are more, or we have the potential to be more connected than ever. And yet we are so separated with all the information that we choose to believe or not choose to believe. However, you want to translate it for yourself. It's everything is very overwhelming
Mm,
because of that. So we are very numb. We forget to feel. And in order to heal, we first need to feel.
mm,
We need to digest it.
mm,
So even if you've never heard of breathwork, even if you never even for 1 second thought of trying it, now is the time. Give it a try. It doesn't have to be a long session. It can be just a little bit, but I've witnessed transformations from session one.
Mm.
And yes, it's like everything. It's not like one time and done.
Yeah,
You have to do it. But that's like everything. You brush your teeth every day, you shower every day, you eat every day. It's not you just have
exactly.
to keep doing it. And yes, you said it's not luxury anymore, self-care. Right now, self-care is mental health. You know, they're under the same category. If you really want to survive in this time of overwhelm and when stress and anxiety is so trendy, you need to do something to keep your sanity. And self-care is the way. And self-care is through coaching, massage, anything that feeds your soul.
Mm.
And it's not Netflix.
Well, we won't make a judgment at all. It's all about
No, 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 that's a judgment-free zone, and I did not say it. If Netflix is what rocks your boat, please do so. But remember that it can't be all.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's all, and even to finish there, in this world of overwhelm, it can be, but it doesn't have to be, So
Mm-hmm.
from where my mindset is, if you try to do it all, if you try to absorb it all, yeah, the world is completely crazily in chaos and overwhelm. But when you have intention in how you live your life, who you are, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, who you want to be, how you spend every hour, without being robotic about it, having some flexibility in there, then it's not overwhelming at all. It actually is a place of calm, because you're in control, right? If you're in a boat and the wind picks up, you've just got to go. You can't stop that wind, but you can certainly shift the sail,
Mm-hmm.
and you can still feel like I'm still in charge. I'm able to shift and navigate, according to what's happening, but I don't get overwhelmed by it. I don't get stressed by it. I can stay calm in it. I can then still influence certain behaviors to adjust to the situation that I'm in. So I'm all into anything that helps people, calm, get some clarity, help themselves through those times, because we want to live empowered futures. We want to have success in our own terms, with balance and happiness and joy, and gratitude. So I love the
Mm-hmm.
work that you're doing, and I'm sure that those people who are receiving that are really, really blessed. And so how can
Yeah.
people find you, Lili? What's your website?
My website is my name, Lili Gordon, which is LILIGORDON.com. And you can find freebies there, all information about me. And I'm updating my podcast right now. It's no longer the Lily Pod. It has a different name, different energy, and I'm excited. It's actually launching next week.
Woohoo!
It's the name is Awaken the Savage,
Wow,
and
I
it's for all of us who kept this wild side
love that.
locked in within and not ready to express who we really are. So shed those layers of what's stopping you and be yourself.
Yeah.
Just be yourself.
Exactly. And that might be a little bit quirky, might be a little bit eccentric, might be a little bit fun, certainly. And I
Mhm.
think that just makes life interesting, and
Exactly. It's a
embrace
little
that.
bit of
And I
everything.
actually
A little
love
bit of
that name,
everything.
Awaken the Savage. We've all got yeah, this inner core person who has a lot of energy, a lot of uniqueness, and yeah, it's actually being comfortable in your own skin. And so, all the best with your new podcast. Super exciting. I'm going to check it out myself. And
Yes.
yeah, and just go to liligordon.com for those interested in learning more about Lili. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Annie, so much. Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure. And please, people, share Annie's work because Annie's work is phenomenal. And I am a huge fan.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes and, of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then,
Happy podcasting.